Welcome, everybody, back to another edition of Let's Take 5, the podcast where we look at one of the greats of cinema and we discuss their excellence and range. My name's Ray Martindale.
I'm Austin Luger.
And today we continue the journey on our Richard Linklater 5. The previous film we covered was that terrible movie we did last week.
That great film we did.
Slacker. And then we will do Before Sunrise, and then we'll do School of Rock, and then we'll wrap up with Boyhood, and then we'll wrap up with a wrap-up. But today, this week, we are talking about Dazed and Confused. This is a movie that takes place the last day of school in 1976. We follow the adventures and the movie's called Dazed and Confused, so you can imagine what type of adventures of the graduating class, the incoming seniors, and then the outgoing junior high people as well. So school's out for the summer, they break, and we basically get to participate in their final day of school, right? I mean, I guess there's a big party that night and everything else. I'm struggling to describe what happens in this movie, and if you've seen the movie, you know why. Because, like Slacker that came before it, this movie does not have a plot, right? I mean, we agree with that for the most part.
There are a couple of conflicts that the characters are aware of.
Of course, but those all tie directly into the character's own characterization. There's no actual through line.
It's a moment of transition for characters, and we're observing it, and it's fun.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. The characterization in this film is so poignantly realized, though, that I think sometimes it gets mistaken for plot.
Yes.
But there is no actual plot in the game.
No.
Or the game. See, I've been doing constant aversion stuff in the movie. So, but if we have two central characters, because the movie lacks any real emotional core, it lacks any real main protagonist, because, again, a protagonist is in a plot, and this doesn't have one. The two most central characters, left of center and right of center, because there is no center, is Jason London, who plays Randy Pink Floyd, the quarterback for the football team, who's debating whether or not he's going to continue to play quarterback because his social life is more important to him, and he thinks it's going to be more long-lasting than any career he might have in football.
And he has this paper where they have to basically say, it's almost like a purity paper saying, we're not going to do drugs and alcohol.
Yes, and that's the closest thing that a through line in the film.
And he sees that as a metaphor of the man, and debating whether to sign it the whole time.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. I have actually a lot to say about this movie. Wiley Wiggins, who plays Mitch Kramer, who's the junior high kid that Randy sort of takes under his wing in the movie, and you see this happening throughout the movie. You see some really nasty hazing that definitely wouldn't be acceptable today.
No.
With the incoming senior class doing that to the incoming freshman class, and then after they do this said hazing, you will see some of them start to take some of the other kids under their wings. As we've all, if you went to high school or you went to college, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. So
I need to ask you, because this is a weird thing, because Linklater's films, we are discovering, are a bit untraditional, which is weird because they seem very relaxed. You've done, I think, a very excellent job defining this film. Did you like this film?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into that. Yeah, quite a bit actually. So what we were talking about, and you'll hear me talk about this because time is timing wimey in podcast land. The Before Sunrise podcast is recorded before this one actually. So I'm breaking the third wall there, or fourth wall. But yes, I do like this film. And I'm kind of trying to roundabout way to try to remember what I was actually going to say. But it doesn't... Okay, so Linklater, he does this, right? So like the first film Slacker is a movie that I would say lacks plot, lacks characterization. I mean, there are characters in the movie, but I can't say that it's their actual characterization happening because they don't exist beyond the own boundaries of their own set, their own scene.
Sure.
So if there is characterization going on, it's meaningless, so therefore there is none, I guess is what I'm saying, if a tree falls in the woods. But it's a great... Even though I didn't like that movie at all, in fact, I have an aversion to that film. What I take from that is that Linklater loves conversation, and he has a knack for style. Dazed and Confused is the natural progression for Linklater because he moves from style, just style, and dialogue. He keeps those aptitudes, and then he adds characterization. which we did not have before. Fully fleshed out characters. You know all their names. I'm telling you, may know a name or two of someone in Slacker.
Oh,
but after the end of this film, you know who they are because the character's so wonderfully realized.
Well, most of the names in Slacker are literally guy in the truck, guy mistaken for this.
Sure.
And something
that kind of even goes to my point more. It was almost like it was actively trying to avoid, any type of facial recognition, any type of anything that would make you think that these are actual characters.
It's just a moment.
It's just a moment, whereas, thank you for, you articulated that a lot better. And then in this movie where the setting and the characters is now mixing into what he already had, conversation and style. So that all comes into this one piece here. It still doesn't have plot yet. And then I think ultimately that's sort of what holds the movie back in a way, but at the same time, the characterization is so wonderfully realized, I wonder if an actual plot to this film might have actually hurt the overall product.
I think it would, because to compare Slacker and Dazed and Confused, Slacker, which I still like quite a bit, Slacker is a day. Dazed and Confused is an important day. It is a defining day. It is a day of transition. It's a day where all the characters have been anticipating for various reasons. So this day means something to them, whereas the day for Slacker means nothing to them. And why I keep loving this film more and more, and weirdly I keep loving it the more and more I get away from high school, is that this may be the greatest, high school movie, because it feels so real. Even though I didn't have these exact experience, I did not grow up in the 70s, the way it takes all of the kids' conflicts, interests, dilemmas so seriously, and how they approach them so seriously, there's no condescension anywhere in the film.
Yeah, no, and I think that's really interesting that you say this. This film is not, in a weird way, I don't feel like this film is for high schoolers. I feel like this film is for people who have now graduated high schoolers, so as a momentary reflection on what they felt at that time. And part of that is evidenced by the fact the movie is not taking place in present day. The film was made in 1993. Mm-hmm. The movie takes place in 1976. So it's almost deliberately tapping into that. And while I didn't grow up in the 70s either, I can still relate to the emotional peaks and valleys that these characters have because I've been there. I know these people. I went to high school in a smaller town that reflects this community pretty closely. Pretty closely. I mean, the town is 99% white. It's pretty much rural, and the sports in the town are a big deal. I grew up there. I knew Randy Pink Floyd. I knew Mitch Kramer. I knew his sister Jody. I knew them. What?
The old guy who had telling Pink Floyd about you guys gotta be strong next year.
Exactly. I no, really, and I did that guy, and I sometimes was the person receiving that conversation and that feedback because I played football, so I understood where these characters were coming from in a way, and I think seeing the film as an adult for the first time, because I didn't grow up in the movie, I didn't see it as a high schooler, and I'm not saying you can't have great movies that way as well. That it had an inherent sadness to it.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's the momentary pieces of this thing that doesn't at first seem beautiful, but kind of is because it's youth and it's fleeting, and they don't get that. And it's evidenced the most by the dialogue that takes place on the 50-yard line towards the end, because they're talking about how they just want to get out of this shithole, and yet they're unable to realize they're on the 50-yard line with the best friends they'll ever have in their lives, and they're not taking advantage of that moment because they're constantly looking ahead. And me, looking back on that, I actually found this movie to be quite philosophical. So that sort of grandeur of the film, it's able to escape needing a plot, because I feel like what's happening in the film is actually quite special and philosophical in a way that I feel like a plot may have distracted.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a long way to making that original point.
And there's a beauty with it, because I think the closest thing it has to nostalgia porn is the beloved soundtrack.
Yes.
This soundtrack is a beloved CD. But what I love about the movie as well, and some more hyperbole, this might be, weirdly enough, one of the best period pieces, because there's no one explaining who Johnny Carson is. Yeah, like, it's not like any of that. It just feels so natural. No one's outfit is supposed to be outrageous on purpose. It is just... It feels like you're just glimpsing the past. And that is so impressive and so refreshing that, like, I kept forgetting what year it was because the film wasn't just actively reminding you what year it was. Just how I walked down the street and no one's screaming 2017.
Right. It starts with a thing that pops up, a little establishing shot that has a graphic that says, text that says last day of school, 1976. That's it. That's all you get. And that's a great sort of beginning. That the setting, again, in this film, and you'll see this before Sunrise, setting is almost just as important as everything else. Vienna, very important. Austin, Texas, very important in Slacker. And this small town has a pulse, and it's alive, and you're constantly coming in and out, checking in on the characters that you're meeting and seeing what they're up to now. That's essentially what the plot is. So and you do see some growth with the characters there as well. And again, it's characterization, not plot, and that's deceptive. But I wonder. I feel like this movie is a little misunderstood. I wonder if most of its fan base feels that way about the movie. And I know that's pretentious of me to say, but
I think it's an age thing.
Yeah, I think it's weird if I hear people, like, my friends would quote this movie when they were 16 or 17, and I don't feel like you have the scope for that looking back on it now.
I think they're not wrong, because it's also a super fun movie.
Yes, it is.
It is so much fun. It is funny. The performances are great.
It started every career in Hollywood.
It did. Everyone around, except the two leads.
Except for the two leads, exactly.
And I think it can be taken both ways. I think it's one of those kind of great comedies that just get better as you go on. I think that, just like, I don't know, when I first saw Blazing Saddles, I didn't recognize all it was saying about race. I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I wasn't wrong then, but I recognize now it's actually a more sophisticated satire than I thought. But I think Dazed and Confused has that, and when it has that look at the characters and the lens it has, it's addition. It's not subtraction, I guess.
Yeah, and it is kind of pretentious what I was saying, but it's just like, let's talk about some of the little moments, I think, that I think are, like, really cool and really important. So we're constantly checking in with sort of the main group of football players who are going around the town paddling all the incoming freshmen, right? One of the guys, this is the second year he's done this because he's repeating the same grade. So, and I was thinking, wow. And he pulls up, it's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is getting out of the car. The friends he hangs out with the whole film. I love this because you start walking up to him, and the guy goes, oh gosh, man, here he is. He goes, the guy's such a dumbass. They talk about that, and it's never brought up again like the rest of the film. But the guy's going around paddling everybody. You have the girls that are hazing the girls that are going to be incoming as well, and you see how they're connected because one of their younger brothers is, and then it kind of does this. Everyone's sort of connected in a small town, right? And then we keep jumping back and forth for the people as they're driving about the town, because this is before a lot of the technology the kids enjoy today. So what the kids did was they went out and they drove around.
I think I drove more in high school than I did my entire life.
Yeah, you're constantly going out and driving around, and then from there we see the other car, and we start recognizing these sort of clicks by the cars they're actually driving in.
Yeah.
So that sort of starts to add to the characterization. So when you see this car pass this car, we're going to go to this car now. We have an expectation. We start to have an expectation of the conversations they're going to be having, but it all is coming to a head because eventually they're all going to end up at the same party.
Which is also fun because part of the reason why they're in transition for so much of the movie, I mean, literally with the cars.
Yeah.
Beyond the life thing.
That life thing. People.
Yeah. Is that my favorite scenes in the movie? The house that was supposed to hold the party, the keg guy came too early.
Yeah.
Before the parents left.
Yeah.
And just the wonderful joy of watching someone really poorly lie.
Yeah. That is true. And then you continue to see vignettes of people showing up to that house for that party and the dad shooing them away. And it's particularly used to great effect when one of the main characters has serious social anxiety.
Yeah.
So he finally works up the courage to ring the doorbell and go in there, and then the dad answers the door. Yeah, it's great.
It's so funny. And I love that because it's, again, such an organic thing. And, like, no one's, like, mad. I mean, the guy's in trouble, but whatever.
Yeah.
But to go back to Ben Affleck for a second, he's O'Banion. He is the really dumb boogeyman of this movie. He has his paddle, and he's really wanting to hit some freshmen. And I had a moment watching this time that I realized, I think this is Ben Affleck's best performance. And I realized I didn't want to slate him too much, but he's so good in this.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Because, McConaughey is famous in this movie, but McConaughey goes on to do better stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is the best Ben Affleck performance.
I'm trying to think.
I like him. He's a very likable actor, but
you're
he's
right.
Genuinely
it may be.
He's a great remember when they were poor Mitch. He's pitching at the baseball game on the last day of school, and O'Banion and his goons are up in the stadium
shouting at him the whole time he's pitching, waiting for him to get done. And this all has escalated because Mitch's sister Jody told them at the beginning of the day, "Could just take it easy on my little brother. He's small, right?" Well, yeah, okay, great. That's gonna help him out a lot. Thank you for that.
On his back.
And
all of his friends know it. His friends betray him all the time.
Yeah. Well, the junior high kids are great too.
I love them.
It's wonderful watching them as well. And then you see a bit of a coming of age story with Mitch too, because he gets invited to the big party at the end. I mean, he's the 14-year-old partying with the Matthew McConaughey character Wooderson, who's I feel like 5 years older than everybody else, like, weirdly.
Well, he has quite a comment about age in this film, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. In the famous quote, yes, high school girls just stay the same age. Yeah, that's, I get older, they stay the same age. But he gets to go to that party, and he gets to start to have the experiences of, like, messing around with a girl potentially for the first time, or at least getting past first base or whatever, and drinking and partying. And it's great watching Jody as his sister as sort of the observer of this and watching him go through the same things. And I think that sort of hits at, again, more the philosophical nature of the thing about how she'll be moving on soon, and as he's entering, it's like, Semisonic wrote a song called Closing Time. Every new beginning comes from something that begins end, right? So it's like, it's that revolving door of life. You were here, you had your time, and now someone else comes in and they're going to take your place. And it's articulated probably the best maybe in that relationship between those two. I loved it.
I love the last scene of Mitch. It's dawn. He comes back home. Definitely drunk. His mom calls him out for being drunk. He's kind of getting into bed. And basically, it's an acknowledged thing of, all right, you get this one.
Yeah.
And also, he does a very fun drunk performance when he says he's not drunk.
He actually, if I had, and this is probably my hipster opinion, most people probably don't agree with it, the actor that plays him, Wiley Wiggins, there's probably a reason you didn't hear from him after this, because I think he's by far the worst actor in the film.
I think he does exactly that thing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't distract me.
You mean he keeps grabbing his nose like they can't see me in podcast like that. He reacts like that to everything, and it's just Google Tim Lincecum. He was a pitcher for the A's or the Giants.
Okay.
Pitcher for the Giants. So literally, I think this kid grew up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Mitch Kramer changed his name to Tim Lincecum because they had the same hair and everything. And I don't know, it was creeping me out, so that was kind of distracting for me. But other than that, this movie has Anthony Rapp in it, by the way.
I'm about to mention that click because for people who don't know theater as well, who's Anthony Rapp?
Anthony Rapp is he's a big Broadway actor. He most famously played one of the big roles in Rent. Was the thing that he sort of got his big, and he did play it in the movie too, unfortunately. But
he's also a huge gamer.
Yeah, a huge gamer. That doesn't surprise me because
he's on an episode of Indoor Kids. He loves to platinum games.
He was also in the Immortal classic Adventures in Babysitting, filmed right here in beautiful downtown Chicago.
I've not seen it.
You haven't seen Adventures in Babysitting? No. There's a movie I've seen that Austin has not seen.
I'm waiting for the Chris Columbus 5. Did he do it?
I don't know. I don't know if he did, but maybe the Elizabeth Shue 5.
Okay,
but he's considered a fairly prestigious actor, particularly on Broadway and he gives a fine performance in this film as well.
Tim and Adam Goldberg.
Yeah, who you've seen in a million things.
And he is someone who I like a lot as an actor, but it's kind of fun to watch those two actors in particular because...
Well, there's a girl with them, too.
Yeah. But like those two actors, because they become successful, but they're successful at doing this a bit better. Like, Anthony Rapp is so neurotic in this movie. I wish I just knew the monologue, but when they're driving, he just like bursts into like, what was it? He's not going to college, and it's like just freaking out, the whole thing in the backseat.
That's right.
And it's so funny, and it's so like this guy's having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, Adam Goldberg has
Yeah.
that. I think you said Anthony. Right?
Oh, no,
yes, you may not have, but
he is. It's so funny.
Oh no, he's one of the funniest. I mean, he has one of the greatest insults of all time, which in this movie where he calls someone a dominant male monkey motherfucker, which is one of like he just says it as a snide thing, like to the side later. Again, it's again the characterization works fantastic in this movie because when stuff comes to a head in the vignettes, it uses the characterization to give it kind of round it off, kind of give each of these things sort of their own little ending.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about that, I mentioned earlier, has social anxiety. We see this through the whole film. That pays off later when he shows up to a party and says, "Someone smells like smells like someone's smoking weed." Yeah. And then the guy wants to kill him, like beat his ass because he said that he just got to the party. So again, that's an example of characterization playing off. It's not plot. But we know who these people are, so we know how they're going to be, it's literally like a poster child for how you round off characters so well, and you breathe life into settings so well, and it works all the time. There's never a moment in the film where it doesn't work.
Every click is great. Yeah. Like I just love every scene in this movie. It's just delightful. I also, it's such a small note, I am always like very judgmental towards teachers in movies because I feel like it's always like just Mr. Holland's opus or not a character. It's very kind of hard to just portray a just naturally bad teacher because usually it's like cartoonishly bad. I love the guy that the junior high kids have. They try to leave early.
He's nuts.
He just like his way of saying no because they want to avoid O'Banion, who's outside the window.
He's outside drinking beers, by the way,
and the town's fine with this.
Yes,
and yeah, the guy goes off on a very, like... he thinks he's answering the question.
Yes.
It's not. He's talking about Vietnam.
Yeah,
and the kids, like, they don't one-up him. They go back to their seat because they're going to lose this one.
Yeah, he tells them, hey, can we leave early? And then the teacher says... My sergeant in Vietnam told me that 50 of us are going in and only 25 are coming back. Okay.
Because even this guy knows O'Banion's outside.
Yes, exactly. I think he likes it.
Yeah, everyone's fine with this ritual.
Yeah.
And it's the role of the junior high kid to try to escape it. But in 4 years, they're going to be that
doing
person,
the same thing.
Which is fine because it's... Everyone has to do that part at their time.
Exactly, and that's why I think that, like, I'm not condoning hazing, but hazing is such a great template for what this movie... It's another way, a different angle to articulate what this movie is coming about. The revolving door of that age. Hormone-driven, alcohol, social status, do people like me, cheating on my girlfriend, like... Because that happens in this movie, too. And like... all these characters you meet, these people that come in and out of their lives. Perhaps I'll never talk to this person again once I go to college, but I'll always remember them in that place and time. Hazing sort of plays exactly into that because it's literally the act of initiation, and then you will do it later when you're me as well, and you'll understand. And that it's literally the personification of what the movie is essentially all about. You take your lumps. You grow stronger, you grow up, you become an adult, but it's all momentary and it's always moving.
Every step of your life is important.
Exactly.
And the hazing, there's kind of two different depictions of it, and then what's kind of in between. O'Banion is a sadist.
Yeah.
O'Banion is just hysterically evil.
Yeah, like he hits... No one's enjoying this like he is. And it's his second year doing it, because he didn't graduate.
And with the males, it's hitting on the rear end with a paddle. With the girls, it's more of a humiliation thing. They have to go propose to random people. They have to kind of go on the ground and pretend to be a fry egg sizzling and whatnot.
Yeah, it's more titillating.
It's humiliation.
It's sexual in a sexual way, whereas with the boys, it's represented in... And it's not always sexual with the girls, but get on your knees and propose to them, say you'll do anything you want for them, versus the guys, which is, I'm literally going to cause you bodily harm.
And something I like at one point, Jodie... is with kind of the group of girls who are all hazing and whatnot, and she sees a kind of a girl on the path who's a junior high kid. Basically, asks her to join them and whatnot. And it's not sadistic like O'Banion, because yes, she's now inviting her to be hazed for a couple of hours, and then she gets to enjoy the rest of the night with someone under the wing.
And she invites her to go, and it's the same thing that happens with Randy Pink Floyd and what he does with Mitch, and Jody is Mitch's brother. So, so they're probably the best cornerstone of what the movie's about, because they're related, they love each other, and she sees herself and him. Mm-hmm. She knows that mom's going to be so pissed that you're late. Like, she knows, so she's lived it. She's gone through it.
I have younger brothers.
Yeah. So you know. So you know. And I was the younger brother. So I saw what happened to my brother, and I learned from the mistakes he would make, you know. And particularly, and I think, and we're getting a little later, but it is something to be said about the small town nature of this film as well.
Of course.
Like, I don't think that could be understood. This is a type of experience that I don't know could have existed in a different type of community so much. It would be different. It would just be different in a way. They have the same problems and the same social whatever, but so much of this movie is about home in town, and how you always know how this person who on this block of the street is going to react to this. And I'm not saying you can't have that in like a big city or whatnot, but I just feel like it's more easily accessible in this type of setting.
This is this story.
Yes.
You can do a more Carmel-like setting, which is the city I grew up in. Mm-hmm. You can do a Chicago-like setting, but those are different stories.
Exactly. They would be totally different.
This one is more intimate, and the interconnectedness is easier, and it's fun.
And it all comes in hand in this place called the Moon Tower, which I love that idea, because you think it's going to be something grandiose, maybe, but when you arrive there, it's just a piece of an old, like, electrical station, and it's just a tower there. And those are the same type of landmarks I grew up with in my small town as well. And
there's no... Linklater isn't one to do, like, dramatic irony like that. There's no duh. You're just following the characters. The characters here now. It's stuff you build for yourself. He's not going to judge it, really. It's just it's a floating camera. This one has way more of it's less obvious, I think, the camera was than it was in Slacker. Slacker, you were very
you had nothing else to focus on.
That's true.
And I think that's probably why, because I think he does fantastic tricks with the camera and Dazed and Confused, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think to greater effect even than in Slacker. It's just in Slacker, what else are you going to pay attention to? Because the scene doesn't matter. So, but anyway. Did you guys know I don't like Slacker?
We're going to mention it a couple more times.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I think that wraps it up, really, for episode 47.
Yeah, and what I liked about it is the more I talk about, and I really liked it, the more I talk about it, the more profound I actually think the movie really is, which is crazy, because it's called Dazed and Confused.
I think that you would like the spiritual sequel as well. It's not an official sequel in the slightest, but it came out last year. I saw it with your brother. Mm-hmm. It's called Everybody Wants Some, and it's about the first day of college for this baseball player.
Yeah, no, I was aware of its existence.
There's no connection whatsoever. It's set in the 80s. It's just another kind of like, that was actually over a weekend. But it's also fun. It captures a different type of transition.
Exactly, because that's the step after this.
Yeah. Also, the movie captures athletes so well.
Yeah.
And their competitive nature for, like, ping pong games.
Everything.
I know. Anyway, this is Dazed and Confused. We highly recommend it. Check it out. And, you're waiting for our next episode, which is a whole week from now, where we're going to discuss it before sunrise. You can email us at letstake5@theartimmortal.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @TheImmortalsPod. You can leave a comment for this episode, or any episode, at theartimmortal.com. While you're there, you can check out the other podcasts, including The Immortals, where this week we're reviewing Being John Malkovich and Call the Midwife, which both have birth canals. Only connection I got. And Ad Absurdum, we're the pop culture legal team, this month are tackling The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. It was a very fun episode. There are a lot of puns in that episode. It's more punny than usual. I liked it a lot.
Well, I mean, it goes with the nature of the Batman series.
And now, this is exciting. Eric, what's up with you?
Constant Diversion has completed the Last of Us video.
Hell yeah.
So, yes. It's 19 minutes and 9 seconds. We ended up cutting quite a bit because we didn't want to water it down. What you see is what you get. It's long 19 minutes. If you like video games, I think you'll enjoy that video. If you like video games, you've heard of The Last of Us. So even if you don't like the video, or even if you don't like the game, I think that there might be something in the video for you. The video focuses on whether or not video games can be art and sort of are art and whether they have a right to be. So, yeah.
And this is the only time I've ever had this kind of like tag for a Constant Diversion video, but if you should watch the video if you have finished The Last of Us.
Yes.
Or you
don't care about
the ending of The Last of Us.
Yeah, it is.
It's a beloved video game ending, so I do recommend you play the game. And the video is much like this podcast, is the whole game.
Yeah, it's really holistic, and it is the most. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because apparently I wasn't going to. It's the most spoiler-ridden thing ever. Like it is. It's
It's the ending.
That's that.
Yeah.
The ending is in the game or in the review.
Yeah,
and
it's in both.
Yeah.
All right.
The ending's in the game.
It is. They kept it in.
Good.
All right. And catch y'all next week. We're going to have Before Sunrise, and we're going to have some cool guests.
Yeah, very cool guests.
So, catch you next time. I'm Austin.
I'm Eric. Bye-bye.
And there you guys were in class trying to list all the Gilligan's Island episodes without even a hint of irony.
When the hell are you talking about, girl?
You weren't thinking about it, were you?
Gilligan's Island?
It's what's called a male pornographic fantasy.
Oh, my.
Think about it. You're basically alone on a deserted island with two readily available women. One, a seductive sex goddess type. The other, a healthy girl next door type with a nice butt. So guys have it all. The Madonna and the whore. And women get nothing. We get a geek, an overweight middle-aged guy, some nerdy scientific type. I mean, the professor is sexy.